The sun rose slowly over the crystalline towers of Elathra, scattering colors across the sky in every shade of gold and violet. The air hummed with a gentle vibration, a song that had sung itself for centuries. In the grand halls of the palace, courtiers moved like shadows, whispering behind their delicate hands. Something unusual had arrived, something that even the queen could feel without hearing it first. Lysera, queen of Elathra, sat upon her throne of luminous crystal, her robes flowing like liquid light. Her eyes, which had witnessed centuries, narrowed slightly. A soft vibration beneath the palace floors signaled a ship descending. It was unlike anything the Elathrans had seen before. Its surface was metallic, weathered yet elegant, humming with an unfamiliar energy. The ship's design was distinctly human, and Lysera's heart leapt and then hesitated. 20 years ago, her daughter, Princess Elenai, had vanished near the border of human space. Diplomacy had turned into disaster. Rumors of storms and disappearances filled the palace halls, but no trace of her had ever been found. And now here was a ship, small, unassuming, yet unmistakable. The doors opened with a hiss and Lysera rose, her robes shimmering as she stepped down from the throne. Her advisors whispered, nervously adjusting their flowing garments. Courtiers stopped their conversations entirely, holding their breath. Elenai appeared at the ramp. She was taller than Lysera remembered, her features refined yet softened by years lived among another people. Her hair carried streaks of silver, and she wore garments of fabric unfamiliar to the Elathrans, rough and textured yet comforting. Most surprisingly, she held 2 children's hands, one on either side. Both were human, their skin and hair a mix of colors, their eyes wide and bright with wonder. The courtiers gasped. Murmurs rose like waves, questioning, guessing, fearing, and admiring all at once. Lysera's heart thudded so loudly she feared the vibration of the palace might echo it to the heavens. Her daughter, her long-lost daughter, was here, and she had returned not alone, but with human children. Elenai's voice rang clear, melodic, yet strong. "Mother," she said simply. Her children stepped forward, one shyly clutching her robe, the other curious, scanning the towering figures around them. They did not hide or bow. They held her hands with quiet confidence. Lysera's knees trembled, and she caught herself on the edge of her throne. Her mind swirled with memories, the child she had cradled, the promises she had whispered, the empty nights spent wondering. And now, 20 years later, the daughter she had mourned for decades was standing before her. "My queen," a court advisor whispered. "She comes with human children. Protocol forbids." "Protocol," Lysera interrupted, her voice calm but firm, "cannot limit a mother from greeting her child, or a grandmother from seeing her grandchildren." The hall grew silent. No one had heard the queen speak with such direct authority in many cycles. Even the air seemed to pause, waiting for what would come next. Elenai stepped closer. The 2 children moved as one, trusting and unafraid. She knelt slightly, bowing her head toward her mother. "I was taken by a storm in the human sector," she said. "I was alone for many cycles until humans found me. They took care of me. They taught me kindness, patience, and hope. I learned a life I never knew on Elathra." The courtiers exchanged worried glances. Humans were known across the stars as resourceful, unpredictable, and sometimes disruptive. They did not glow with energy like Elathrans. They could not live for centuries. To bring them into the palace was almost unthinkable. But Lysera felt no fear. She felt understanding. She had lost her daughter once, and now the universe had returned her in a form she did not anticipate. Her heart widened, welcoming all that came with it. "My grandchildren," she said, her voice softening. She held out her hands, shimmering with light. The children hesitated for only a moment. Then the little boy reached forward and touched her fingers. Warmth spread through Lysera, and the boy laughed softly. The girl, seeing her brother's courage, did the same. The hall seemed to shift. Courtiers, once rigid and tense, watched in awe. The children's simple act of trust and courage brought something new to the palace, a light they had forgotten. The queen smiled, and in that smile, every courtier knew that the universe had just offered a miracle. Elenai explained how she had lived among humans. She spoke of vast green fields, rivers that sparkled like the palace's crystal towers but felt alive, and nights under skies filled with stars that seemed close enough to touch. She told how humans laughed at small things, cared for one another even when it cost them effort, and celebrated life even when it was fragile. The children, curious and full of questions, asked Elathrans about the palace, the towers, the songs that vibrated through the air. They were fearless in their curiosity, asking how light could move without wind and why some beings did not age. They were small but bright, and every answer seemed to deepen the wonder in their eyes. Elenai watched them with a quiet pride. "They have learned much from humans," she said. "But they are also learning from your world, Mother. They know kindness, but they are discovering patience and respect here." The Queen took a deep breath. She remembered her daughter as a child, bright and impatient, always asking questions, always pushing limits. She realized the children had inherited that same human spark, the spark that had drawn Elenai through hardship and guided her back home. "Perhaps," Lysera said softly, "the stars sent them for a reason. Perhaps they are meant to teach us something we have long forgotten." Elenai's eyes glimmered. "They already have. Even a small hand can bring light to places long darkened." Over the next hours, the palace prepared a celebration. The news spread quickly. The lost princess had returned, and she had brought human children. Delegates from other worlds would arrive, and the Queen knew there would be questions, doubts, and maybe even fears. But today, she focused only on her daughter and her grandchildren. The children explored the palace gardens, their laughter blending with the gentle hum of Elathra's energy. Birds with luminous feathers hovered nearby, unafraid. Flowers turned their heads as if bowing to the newcomers. Every corner of the palace seemed to respond to the joy the humans brought. For the first time in centuries, the halls were filled with laughter, not protocol. Elathran children joined the human children in play, learning the simplest games, running, chasing, and tumbling through the gardens. Humans taught them something Elathrans had almost forgotten: the joy of imperfection, the thrill of discovery, the warmth of genuine friendship. As night fell, the Queen led her daughter and grandchildren to a balcony overlooking the city. The twin moons of Elathra hung low, their reflections dancing in the rivers below. Lysera placed her hand gently on each child's shoulder. "You are safe here," she said. "This world is yours as much as it is mine. And you have taught me something I had almost lost, that love and courage are stronger than rules, stronger than fear, stronger than even centuries." Elenai hugged her mother tightly, and the children followed, creating a circle of warmth that pulsed outward. In that moment, the palace, the city, even the stars seemed to hum a new song. A song of reunion, of hope, of bridges between worlds. The courtiers, once tense and uncertain, now watched with wonder. They whispered not of fear but of joy, of the miracle that humans could bring, of the spark that could ignite a new future for Elathra. The Queen, standing tall beside her daughter and grandchildren, smiled at the horizon, somewhere beyond the skies. The humans who had guided Elenai must have looked up and wondered if their small acts of kindness had changed a world. And indeed they had. That night the palace lights glowed brighter than ever, reflecting in the eyes of every visitor and every child. The song of the stars carried a new rhythm, one that promised discovery, learning, and the beginning of a story that would change the galaxy. A story that had begun with a human touch and the return of a beloved daughter. And as the first light of dawn crept over the towers, Lysera whispered to herself, "Welcome home, my daughter. Welcome home, my grandchildren. You have brought the world alive again." The children held hands and the Queen held them, and for the first time in centuries, the palace felt truly alive. The palace of Elathra had never felt so alive. Light shimmered from every crystal tower, reflecting the laughter of children who ran through the gardens without fear. Princess Elenai's human children, their small hands still holding tightly to their mothers, had become a new heartbeat in the palace, teaching the Elathran young games they had never imagined. Queen Lysera watched from her balcony, the wind brushing softly against her robes. Every day she marveled at how quickly the children adapted, how their curiosity and joy seemed to reach places in the palace that had long been cold. Even the courtiers who had once feared the human presence now spoke quietly of the wonder the children had brought. The day came when delegates from neighboring worlds arrived. They had heard the rumors that the missing princess had returned with humans and that her children were now in the palace. Some came with smiles, some with suspicion, and some with skepticism so strong it seemed almost visible. The Queen prepared herself. She would welcome them, but she would also defend her family. She knew that fear of humans was rooted not in malice but in the unknown, and she knew that the simplest truth, The joy and love the humans had brought could calm that fear. In the grand hall, the delegates gathered, their faces masked in polite expressions. Princess Elenai stepped forward with her children, the little boy clutching her hand, the little girl glancing curiously at the tall beings around them. They were unafraid, and the confidence in their small shoulders made the hall shift in an unspoken way. A delegate from the nearby world of Torvath spoke first. "Your Majesty, the arrival of humans in this sacred palace raises many questions. We have long respected Elathran tradition. How can humans who do not share your longevity or your ways be allowed among you?" The queen's gaze softened as she looked at the children. "Humans bring something our tradition has forgotten," she said. "They bring impermanence, yes, but with it comes courage, hope, and joy. They remind us that life is beautiful because it is fleeting, because every moment matters." A murmur passed through the delegates. They had never heard an Elathran speak of impermanence as a gift. They had only known order, control, and eternity. The little girl, sensing the seriousness of the moment, stepped forward. In her small hands she held a drawing, a colorful, simple image of the palace surrounded by stars, with humans and Elathrans holding hands and smiling. "My father said that every being has a way of being kind," she said softly. "We are all different, but we can all care for each other." A silence fell over the hall. The delegates looked at the drawing, then at the children, and finally at the queen. The power of such honesty coming from a small human child was stronger than any argument they could offer. Elenai stepped closer to her mother, her eyes steady. "They have taught us that life is precious not because it lasts forever, but because we live it fully. My children have taught us to smile, to laugh, and to love, even when it is hard, even when it is brief." The High Consul of Torvath, who had spoken so forcefully, found himself speechless. The humans' simple courage, their willingness to show truth, was something he could not challenge. He watched the children play for a brief moment in the palace gardens before the hearing, and he realized that joy could be more persuasive than any law. Slowly, the delegates began to soften. They asked questions not of accusation but of curiosity. They wanted to know about the humans, about their ways, about how they had lived among Elathra, and the answers came, simple, honest, full of warmth. The palace, once quiet and reserved, now thrummed with life. Laughter echoed off the walls, blending with the gentle hum of the crystals. The children ran through the halls, showing games and stories, and the Elathran young joined them eagerly. For the first time in centuries, the palace was a place of joy and learning, not just tradition and protocol. The hearing concluded with a decision that no one had expected. Instead of demanding that the humans leave, the delegates proposed a new treaty, one that allowed humans to visit, to learn, and to share their ways with Elathra. The queen smiled, her heart full. Her daughter had returned, her grandchildren had brought light, and now the galaxy would benefit from the union of worlds. As the sun rose over the crystal towers the next morning, the queen stood beside her daughter and grandchildren. The children's hands were small but strong, and they held onto hers as they looked out over the city. Elathran children ran past them, their laughter echoing across the gardens. Birds with luminous feathers hovered nearby, and flowers seemed to lean toward the humans as if welcoming them. "This is only the beginning," the queen said softly. "They have shown us that life is precious and that every moment matters. We will learn from them, and they from us. Together we will make a world brighter than any of us could imagine alone." Elenai smiled, placing her hands over her children's. "We have learned that love is not bound by species, nor by years. It is the bridge between all who choose to care." The children laughed, running ahead into the gardens, and the queen followed, her robes flowing like liquid light. For the first time in centuries, she felt the full beauty of impermanence, of fleeting moments that mattered more than eternity. The palace, the city, and even the stars themselves seemed to hum a new song, a song of courage, of love, and of human hearts teaching an ancient race how to feel again. And as the twin suns rose over Elathra, the queen knew that this was the start of something extraordinary. Not of conquest or power, but of connection, understanding, and shared joy. For the first time in millennia, Elathra was alive in a way that no crystal or light could ever have made it. Alive with laughter, learning, and the simple, unstoppable magic of humanity.